Welcome to the We Love Wrestling spot. Today we got something special. You know, a lot of things have been going on out here in the wrestling community, and I felt like I needed to go get some people who I highly respect and invite some people who I highly respect on so we could have a conversation just to get the feelings out there so we know where everybody's staying with it. To first start off, you know, we got Nicole from Down for the Count. You know, she's We Love Wrestling. If I love wrestling, she loves wrestling, so we love wrestling. Then we have joining us Brian H. Waters. If you don't know Brian H. Waters, you in a cave or something. He also runs with the Wrestling Wrealm, but Brian H. Waters. I am pleased to announce that you probably see this podcast a lot more, doing things with us, different members of it. But I like to call him Calisto. I like to call he do calisthenics out here, you know what I'm saying? Well, we got Khal from the Black Rasslin Podcast, you know what I'm saying?
At least it's popping.
And back last June, I believe it was last June. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it last June? I think it was last June. There was a show that went down called Black Girl Magik. The person that we have here is the person that's behind that card. I'm glad to have her here. We'll bring her back because we got to have a different conversation also. But we have Taye. How are y'all doing today, man?
Hi.
Doing good.
Good, man. Blessed.
Living life.
Okay. Last time I had everybody on here, it was about like a lot of podcasts. It was about mental health. So I'm just gonna ask you, with things going on in the wrestling community, if people don't know, how is y'all mental health doing right now?
Jeez, it's you learn how to use like your mute words and like what avenues, because like there's sometimes in the discourse I'm like, you know what, y'all, I gotta go. I got to go to YouTube and watch something not in pro wrestling because it'd be like 2 or 3 things and it's not even like all of pro wrestling. It's like within this community, like a day, 2-3 scandals or situations. Like it's a lot. I got work.
Too much. I had to go and watch Cobra Kai.
Facts season 4, yeah, facts.
I've been watching that to keep my mind off a lot of things. Taye, I mean, let's open it up to you.
So I've been in the rest. Well, I loved wrestling my whole life. Started to like really get into like doing things in the wrestling world. It'll be a year next month, and yeah, it's a ringer. It's hard. It is especially hard, being a Black woman in the business, but you learn, like he said, to just not try to put yourself in like certain discourse or I like to, some days just not even be on Twitter for 2 to 3 days. Just avoid like all social media. But yeah, it can get hard. It can definitely get really hard.
Brian H., let me ask you, how does it feel like when you see the discourse going on, but you like, man, I don't need to be inside this? How do you navigate that, man?
Video games, to be honest with you, that's been helpful. For some reason I've been on a WCW kick. I actually just got off Twitch playing WCW Mayhem, and as bad as that game was, it was the one that I wanted to play because it had like that era of WCW I was just watching on Peacock a few days ago. But I realized this, right? And I'm trying to not sound arrogant when I say this. But everybody don't have the same level of wrestling intelligence as we all do on this panel, right?
Thank you.
So a lot of times what will happen is I start seeing people just start spitting at the keyboard.
Right.
And I say, you know what? They just don't know any better. And then you got your group chats that you can go to, or your couple friends that you may go to when you want to say things that you can't tweet.
Facts.
Whether you want to agree or disagree in silence.
That's Big Trade E over there. That's the one. Like, hey, wait a minute. Did you see this?
Yeah, and you know what? And that's what I love the big bro about that, because especially if it's something rather than tearing somebody. Let's say this hasn't happened with me, but I'm gonna use me as an example, right? And create a scenario. Let's say I say something off the wall. He gonna come at me, hey, let's talk about this. Now, why did you just say this? Or why do you feel this way? It's not a thing where it's going to be that back and forth public attack, right? And that's the thing. Now it's going to be some situations. I'm gonna put myself out there. I ain't gonna tell y'all who I was talking to in protection of that person. But there's been some situations where I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna ride with Black Rasslin Podcast on this one. I don't care what y'all think. Y'all might, if you know, you know. But it's like they family, so I'm gonna ride with them on this one, right? But then there's sometimes where it's other situations where it may not be people that's not family, and I agree or I disagree, but maybe it's not meant for public consumption. Right. So the way I balance things out, a lot of times is getting into the smaller Discord where I can have those intelligent conversations, because I just understand a lot of people just don't know, and it's okay.
Now, Nicole, you got a difference. You're a Black woman also out here in these wrestling streets, and let me tell y'all something, man. Leave these Black women alone, because y'all will go and direct y'all stuff directly at Black women when somebody else can say the same thing that this Black woman has said, but you will purposely go over and then want to argue with women. Stop it. But I mean, Nicole, what do you do?
What I do, honestly, I just work so much. So because 9 times out of 10, when I'm like interacting or doing anything with wrestling, that's during the day, my ass is at work. So I'm like, you know what? I said, these people are tripping. Like, again, like I loved how you mentioned like the group chats. I will go off in my other various group chats and be like, hey, like, look at this shit that's going on. Like, all right, peace out. I'm going to pretend to do my job for a few hours and like get rid of it. But if I'm at home and just to like disconnect, I did this the other day because I was in isolation because I had COVID. So I was like, man, what type of wrestling like makes me happy, or what's something I really like that I hadn't watched in a while? I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch some old ass 205 Live. And that's what I did. I did not tweet. I did not go on Instagram. I didn't go on any dumbass Facebook groups, nothing. I literally sat my ass in my bed and watched like entire 2 years worth of 205 Live.
I respect
and it's just what I think this is just my advice whenever, because I know especially us people well, specifically Black folks, when we kind of need to disconnect when there's just like a lot going on, like whether it's be like people talking outside their neck, or it's just us getting discredited or trying to talk down to whether it's people like Swole or anyone and vice versa. My recommendation is to circle back to what you truly enjoy about wrestling. Like, leave that and be like, go find something that you really like. Like, if you want to go watch Lucha Underground all night, go do that. I highly recommend it. Or you was like, you know what? I'm literally going to watch every Harlem Heat match I can find. Go do that. That's my recommendation. So you don't let people like the outside bullshit take away from your love of the business, or love of the product, or love of wrestling. Go find something that really solidifies why you fell in love with this in the first place, and all of that bullshit fades.
Man, I mean, you said it. I don't want to skate around it anymore. What actually got us here? So, diversity. Well, let me preface this before I go into it. I know companies are diverse. I know this. They're so freaking diverse. My goodness, they're diverse. They're diverse as hell.
Thank you for disclaiming this.
But when you talk about diversity, what's behind the diversity? Like, just a good example to show just off top. I went and I looked up something. So the Lucha Bros, new tag team champions, like those guys, they wrestle good. They've been on Dynamite twice since All Out. Okay. Well, I'm lying. They was in a 10-man tag, whatever. But it was a Saturday Night Dynamite against FTR. They lost the AAA titles. Before they got to All Out, they really hadn't been on TV in like 3-4 months. And then they won 2 tag elimination matches, and boom, got that. Now, if we go back to when the Young Bucks were the champions, and I understand they're EVPs, they, outside of maybe twice when Adam Cole showed up, were not on we're on Dynamite. The Lucha Bros are like relegated to Rampage now as the tag champions. Why are your champions not getting that shine on a regular Dynamite card? Like, it's the way that they're giving a push. I won't even go into the women right now. But what is y'all diverse as hell? But the way y'all present the diversity to us is totally different than the way y'all present them other people. So are they gonna fix this, or do they even care? Because the Joker card everybody throw at us. Oh, they got diversity. Their champions are blah 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 blah.
Well, it's because it's like it's they're checking off things off the list. You know what I'm saying? Like, was there a person of color bet? Was there someone from the LGBTQ community bet? And then where was the elite and all that shit in MJF? Like that's what it feels like. It's kind of it's troubling when what I saw one tweet. I apologize. I forget who said it, but when the situation went down, when Tony Khan put his tweet out, and they were like, he not only swole, but he mentioned all the black people that was on the show and still had enough space to promote Rampage that night. Like it's a little troubling. It feels like it's just like a line item being added sometimes, and they may not feel that way because they probably don't know. Like I don't know what black people are influential backstage at AEW, what black people that Tony Khan knows to draw. Because if he's booking the show and he's writing these things, like there's certain cultural things that you don't know because you're not around people, and I think those are it's telling the way he responds to some of that criticism, and it's not hate. I've seen a lot of people read headlines and they made it Tony Khan is racist situation when it's not what Swole said. Go back and listen to the podcast. It's not even what was in the transcript, because I read the transcript before I listened to the podcast, and none of that stuff was even in there. So I don't know if it's the fans that are reading the headlines or if it's Tony reading the headlines, but they entered the situation wrong. But I think it's because they don't care. They're going to tell you they're diverse, and if you question them, they're going to say, well, look at, Lucha Bros was on Saturday. Jade Cargill wrestled on Dark, or like it'll be whatever the fluff answer is, but like you're saying, they're not naturally being put in the storylines. We're not seeing them. We're not seeing black folks shine like that. Even a Scorpio Sky, he got the brass ring. That's the one joke. Like he grabbed the brass ring and then what? And that was a minute ago.
Yo, he grabbed the brass ring in the same week that brass ring was done. And then even after,
right.
Hold on, I've said this on the podcast before. Everybody talked about him winning that brass ring. So he won it at that pay-per-view. Then Wednesday he faced Darby. But right after Darby beat him, I think somebody else came out, which totally like canceled out, okay, using that match because they moved straight to another angle. Like I see them do this.
Was it Brian Cage that came out?
Maybe. It was because that was a minute ago, right?
Yeah,
it was like it was Brian Cage who came out.
He was beefing with Team Taz at that point. I'd assume anyway. It feels like it was a bit ago.
Yeah, because it was like Scorpio.
I feel like it was Brian Cage that came out.
He got that title, and then they got on Dynamite. He lost the match, and he wasn't even out the ring yet until the next person was coming out, and it was like Scorpio. He did,
and that right there lets you
did.
Know where you at when you coming out. It's like the jobber entrance, right? When you're exiting and they already moving on to the next person. I mean, we've been watching wrestling long enough to know how something's presented, and that tells you everything you need to know right there.
Exactly.
Man, Taye, what's up?
It's just it's just disheartening.
Go ahead.
Oh, also,
no, you can go on. It's just
Khal, to the tweet you was talking about. It was Lola Blue. Shout out to
Shouts out to Lola.
Y'all see her on here soon. We love wrestling Black Fridays, but she said, "Son, you named your Black roster and then insulted this woman and plugged the show in less than 120 characters."
It's crazy.
Crazy to me.
That's crazy. And he hasn't even followed it up. I'm sorry.
Oh, he.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I would like to state. It's one thing to say something like that, and not even like, before you even. It seems like, it was a very hot-handled tweet. Like he probably just heard it, tweeted it out. Still uncalled for. You're supposed to be a professional. You own a business. And then to not even apologize or acknowledge, but send out other employees. It's a very seemingly seems like, using your employees to kind of do your business for you. And I mean, especially about the women's division, I just have a lot to necessarily say. I love wrestling, and it's a new business, and they preach change, and we do need change. But at this point, with this situation, he's kind of shown me, at least on a woman's standpoint, time and time again, that he just doesn't care. He likes to use numbers. That's his go-to all the time is, I have this many viewers and this. So when it comes to this and issues with WWE, if they don't necessarily care about us, then we need to fight them back with numbers. And if their numbers diminish, then they'll start listening to us, because you're taking money out of their pockets. And that's what talks, unfortunately.
Facts.
Because, man, she just said a lot right there. Because if you go into them shows, cool, but still support the independent people. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, that's the thing, right? It ain't like with WWE where, let's say we get mad at the company. Well, that's the only place we can really support a Bianca Belair outside of her other endeavors, right? We can support a YouTube channel and stuff like that, but that's where we see her. So in a sense, he's not. I always said, letting the wrestlers do these indie shows can backfire you on that way, because you just said, Trey, well, I can just go watch these people at these indie shows and I don't have to tune in to TNT or TBS. You know what I mean? And my issue, as I'm a huge women's wrestling fan, and I've always said, y'all keep talking about, okay, we're giving these opportunities. And it seemed like every time somebody leaves or gets released, y'all just grabbing them. And then the women keep getting moved further and further down the card, unless you're Britt Baker, and they keep moving further, and they're not getting these prominent stories, right? They talk about representation. Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela, two of their initial signees, program was pushed to dark, not on TBS or TNT. That should have been a program that, climaxed on Dynamite, because if you...
I was gonna say, don't forget Swollen Diamante too. That was a banger of a storyline, and it never touched Dynamite. Never.
And that's another issue when we talk about diversity. Why are we not main event worthy? Why aren't we worth the television? If it's the networks, that's the issue. Okay, you want to talk about everything else, go ahead and say that. No, you're not going to do that, because you ain't gonna mess up the money, and at the end of the day, to me, AEW made a bunch of promises that they couldn't keep. They talked about health insurance and all this stuff, not realizing it's not so easy to get health insurance. Colt Cabana talked about that in 2013, how he was trying to get health insurance. And he said he was a podcaster. And when they started doing their digging, oh, wait a minute, you're a professional wrestler. No, we can't insure you, buddy. So it's like, don't come out here saying all this stuff if you can't back it up. And that's the biggest issue with them.
So y'all did talk about the TK tweet, the Tony Khan tweet. Not gonna say he's racist with the tweet. I will say he just saw a headline and said something out there and then put out some stuff that I don't care who you are, he shouldn't have put that out. But that's opened up a lot of these. It's cult-like over there. No offense to nobody, but it's cult-like. It didn't open up a lot of these fans to talking crazy out here. To Swole and to other black women, do you feel like that message, no matter what he was trying to do, is more harmful? Because it kind of created a divide, and I thought AEW is supposed to make the wrestling community better.
And this is just like my platform, like Down for the Count, not just me on it, just us in general, have been saying for a while that all of he said was just to reel us in, because, and I don't think I've talked about it yet because I don't have all my numbers all together for it, and I think I want to use it for a podcast episode about how valuable the black dollar is, especially to things that we like. We will pour, like us as like a community and as a race, will pour so much money into things that we like, and they become successful. And we see this all the time. They become successful and they seem like, oh, that's high fashion, or that's top tier entertainment. And what happens? It gets taken away from us. So we have the most valuable dollar out of any quote unquote group when you really break it down. So I feel like they capitalize off of that, or trying to capitalize off of that, especially they know black folks who love wrestling, because we'll go to the shows. We're the ones, not these crusty dudes who are sitting in a fucking Too Sweet shirt that they haven't washed in 3 months. We're the ones who are buying the replicas. We're the ones who are going to Access and buying up all this stuff. We're the ones who are going to, like, sitting front row, going to doing all this entertainment, free promotion. Like, we're the ones who are driving some of the most driving forces within this industry in general, minus the and this is not, and also, I mean, I'm not accounting in, but also I think a big avenue of it is obviously like the Asian fans, Japanese, blah, 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 but that's another conversation. I just feel like it's just like a bunch of horse shit. I know previous people are trying to say that he was having trouble pushing black stars because of the network, and which again is bullshit. They're on TNT, TBS. They don't care what they do. As long as they get ratings and they don't do anything overly extreme that they're going to lose sponsors. So I was like, okay, nip that in the bud, because that's a lie. I don't. And then it's just the fact that he felt so comfortable tweeting about that, discrediting, and just like, it's like he didn't even respect Swole enough to diss her in a own separate tweet. Like Lola, but he just jumbled in with a bunch of other shit and underhanded, which continues to disrespect the black woman, not only within the industry, which is very prevalent, but also in society in general. And then that also really bothered me on a standpoint. I was like, you're a chief brand officer as a black woman, but you felt comfortable just dissing this girl, not even throw away. And like, I don't know Brandy. Huh?
Yeah. I think so. When he never even mentioned her in that.
Is she the chief brand officer? Because he said, we got two brown people in the front, and Brandy name didn't even come up. So
I think she is listed as a CBO.
Talking about on an executive level, like
wrestling, and you love wrestling, then you're not here, you missing out. Is this show?